Hello and welcome back. Now, we are moving on to the last sections of the essay. Derrida goes on to deconstruct Claude Levi-Strauss's idea of binaries as well. In the earlier slides, we were discussing about his attempt to uh, re- reduce the binaries established by further on the Saussure. Now we are coming to the French anthropologist Levi Strauss's idea of binaries. Now Strauss devises two categories, um, that of nature and culture. Again, these are binary ideas, right? Where anything that is spontaneous is nature, and anything that is acquired is culture. So that is our general understanding of nature and culture. Uh, these two words, right? These two concepts. So anything that is spontaneous is called nature, and anything that is acquired is called culture. This opposition is dissolved too by something called the scandal. Right. The main point of focus here is that Derrida, in the first place, is not withering away the structures, but he's finding flaws in it. Now, as we mentioned earlier, Derrida is not trying to do away with structures altogether, but he's trying to find flaws within these structures. What are the problems with these structures? The structure has to be kept to be in order to critique it. What structuralism does is to attribute a truth value to a structure, that is what is shaken by the theory of deconstruction. So we normally accept many ideas blindly without even considering the option of questioning it. So we attribute a truth value to a structure, and that is exactly what is questioned by Derrida's theory of deconstruction. Then you can discard the structure or use it to find its place. So you are finding the flaws, the faults within the structure. Deconstruction helps you do that. Now he calls this method as bricolage, and the person doing that is a bricolaire. Now you might remember these two terms that we studied in the earlier classes. This method of engaging with the structure, finding flaws with it, trying to fix that system is called bricolage, and the person doing that is called the bricolaire. Now, borrowing the terminology uh, from Claude Levi Strauss's work, The Savage Mind, bricolaire is a person who uses the means that are at his disposal in any desired permutations and combinations as he wishes to reach the end goal. So, bricolaire is someone who makes do with whatever is available at hand. Strauss places the binary opposition of a bricolaire to that of an engineer. An engineer is someone who builds structures that are coherent, stable, have a fixed center, and an absolute truth value. Now, so these two are at the opposite ends of the spectrum. On one hand, we have the bricolaire who makes do with whatever is available at his disposal, and the engineer, someone who builds structures that are stable, fixed with fixed centers, and that have an absolute truth value. Now, he explains, since every discourse that borrows its ideas from the sites, coherent or not, is a bricolaire, an engineer too creates structure and discourse, limited or not, from within itself. The opposition gets diluted, and engineer then is a myth created by a bricolaire. Now, Derrida says that uh, every idea, whether it is coherent, whether it is stable or not, uh, is created by a bricolaire. And an engineer is also someone who creates structure and discourse. Now, the work that is done by an engineer might be limited, and Derrida comes up with a crucial argument that the engineer is a myth created by the bricolage. Now, finally, towards the end of the essay, Derrida observes that there are two ways to interpret structure, sign, and play. One aims to decipher an absolute truth and avoid play, and the other affirms play. So the first method is to decipher an absolute truth from a structure and avoid free plays. And the second method is to allow free play. The first way was dominant throughout human history, and the second one is only emerging right now. So, the first way of analyzing a structure is what we are all familiar with, the traditional idea of understanding, the traditional way of understanding any structure, or any system, or any culture, or any idea for that matter. The first way was dominant throughout human history. So we accept the center, we accept the transcendental signifier, we do not ask any questions, we limit the free play, we accept the authority of the center, right? The second method, on the other hand, uh, we do not accept that there is a center, we do not accept that there is something called an absolute truth, and we are affirming free play. Multiple meanings, multiple interpretations, multiple analysis are all welcome in this second method. So, play must supersede the alternatives of presence and absence, and hence there's no need to be concerned with the absence of the center or the origin. So, these multiple interpretations, multiple analysis should take the lead. We should not be concerned with the presence or absence of any center or of origin. Play becomes possible if we can let go of our need for truth. Why should we be so uh, rigid on this particular point? Why should we always look for an absolute truth? It's possible then to have a philosophy without concepts, without orientation, and without coherence. Even that is acceptable according to Derrida. And that's where the essay, that's how the essay comes to an end. Hope these three videos have been helpful. Um, we have tried to simplify the essay as much as possible. Do go through these main points to get a proper understanding of structure, sign, and play in the history of the human sciences. Thank you.